it can be frustrating not having inside information to help you navigate from clinicals to your first job as a nurse practitioner. In this video, I'm going to cover all of that and more. Let's dive in. Number one, you have to be super intentional about getting the most out of clinicals. I know firsthand that finding a preceptor can be a hard task, but it's not impossible. The best way to navigate that is to go ahead as soon as you're thinking about going to NP school, lining up, like writing down the names of people that you want to reach out to and network with to have them as your preceptor. If you're doing this one semester before it's time to go to that clinical, you are definitely too late. And apparently, some clinicals do not allow you to do clinicals in the same area that you work. Now, if the area that you work in provides the best clinical experience, it's a no-brainer. You will need to go and work somewhere else so that you can do clinicals in that area. So we're making the best decisions for our future self and not for our current role as an RN. When you're in clinicals, make sure that you're seeing all of the unique cases, the harder cases, the refractory cases, or whatever seems to be like a big deal for that clinical day. Because once you leave clinicals, you can go home and read about it, read about the treatment plan, jot down all of the clinical pearls, discuss it with your preceptor, and that will be an extra layer to help you remember that case and that disease process throughout your clinical career. The next thing that you want to do is make a list of your values and all of your non-negotiables, because when you're looking for a job, you're going to have to take action based on your values. Check sites like Glassdoor for feedback to see what goes on in those facilities. Now, you don't want to pay too much attention to the ratings because they can rate the place a 2 and say, I don't like 12 hours, and that's all that they had, 2 out of 5. But you may prefer the 12-hour shifts, so that will be a good fit for you. Also, check the career pages of the facilities to see how often they're posting the jobs and to look at the job requirements, because you're going to compare your values to the job requirements and see if that facility is going to be a good fit for you. So let's just take a couple minutes to go a little bit deeper with values and non-negotiables. So here's a good question. Will you take call? For me, I will not take call because I value sleep. And you may say, well, duh, like who doesn't? Well, here's the deal. I used to have severe migraines and I repeatedly had to go to the doctor. I was taking prescribed medications as well as over-the-counter medications. And I was also making changes in my daily life. I got my sleep on track. If I take a job that's on call, it's like opening myself up to disturb my sleep pattern more often than I should. And for that reason, I am not going to take a job with call. Another thing to consider, will you work nights? Will you work weekends? Post in the comments and let me know what your dream job looks like. Now, here's the deal with weekends. If you work in the hospital and you have a job with no weekends, the pendulum swings. So they may eventually come and ask you if you will start picking up some days on the weekend. Just have something written out how you will respond to them while you're still level-headed and excited about the opportunity. Will you work full-time, part-time? What are your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you work at a bigger facility where there's a lot of nurse practitioners on each team in like all of the specialties, then your chance of working part-time increases. But if there's not many nurse practitioners in the area that you live in, like if you live in a small city, then the chance of working part-time decreases. What are your goals for professional development? Are you going to join conferences? What exactly are you going to do to make sure that you're on par and on pace with other nurse practitioners in the country? Are you going to do community service? And by community service, I'm asking, are you going to go to career days and speak to kids so that they can see what's possible? Some people can live in the city, they can have televisions, but they still don't have role models or inspiration. And by you showing up on a career day, then it will impact some kids long term, and that'd be amazing. Make a decision early on to work at the top of your license. Now, there are many specialties out there. I want to know from you. Type in the comments and let me know, what does it look like to work at the top of your license? So now that you have prepared yourself for a very good clinical experience and you have committed to taking actions that's in alignment with your values, now let's talk about the interviewing process, because we're looking for jobs that are good culture fits as well as proper wages. Now, I don't have to tell you to read about the facility, to know what initiatives the attending physicians, the nurse practitioners, the facility as a whole, what they're undertaking. You definitely need to know that information, but that's standard information. I want to talk about interviewing the interviewer. Please, please, please do not shy away from this, because you are the prize, right? So let's discuss a couple of questions right now. If the position is a new position, you want to ask them, what are your plans, or what budget do you have in mind for professional development? You also want to ask them, what do you need to see over the coming months for you to say that this NP program is a successful program and is an asset for our department? If the program is established, then you want to ask, why did the last person leave this position? Now, here's the deal, Pickle. People are not always honest about this. I'm not saying the interviewer, I'm saying the person that's leaving the job. Now, they may have had moments of stress, crying on the job, needing to be on psychotropics, all of those things. But then when it's time to leave the job, they may say, I just need to spend more time with my family. Right? So they're not telling that the job is stressful, that the culture was bad. They just say, I need to spend more time with my family. So when you ask that of the interviewer is going to say, oh, they just needed to spend a little bit more time with their family. But it's all good here. We have to have a second question. We have to come at it from a different angle. And you can ask them, in the past 2 years, in the past 3 years, how many people have you hired for this position? Now, if they're turning over people every 2, 3, 4, 6 months, that's a problem. Another question and a little twist is, what is the biggest concern that nurse practitioners come to you with in this role? Those are some questions that you can use to help you make a decision. If you get to talk to some of the people in the facility, you can ask them, if you were to interview again to work here, would you take the job? Another question for them is, if you had to change one thing about this environment, what would it be? Take all of that into consideration, and definitely notice if people are hesitant to give responses. So now that we have talked about getting the most out of clinicals, aligning your actions with your values, and showing up as the prize during interview season, there's another side to all of this. And I hope it never happens to you, but I want you to be aware of it. And it is burnout. In this video, I'm going to talk about the causes of burnout, how burnout presents, and recovery mechanisms. Recovery can also be used as preventative strategies. So make sure to catch that video, and I will see you in the next one.